Hey, Edgar community, we have a real treat today that we're being joined with Demio's co-creator, David, who is going to share why webinars are such a powerful tool that you can use in your business. So I'm going to pass it over to David to introduce himself a little bit, tell us a little bit about what Demio is, and then we're going to dig into why and how you can use webinars to really up-level your reach and your brand awareness online.
I love it. And thanks so much for having me here. Real pleasure to just share some education, some value. My name is David. I am one of the co-founders of Demio. Demio is an engagement marketing platform built to help marketers fuel growth through interactive onboarding, education, and marketing webinars, meaning that we just look at webinars from the marketing and sales perspective, really try to help your B2B business fuel growth.
Awesome. What a great tagline. So when it's talking about really helping these businesses, why do you think personally, and what have you seen with people who really dive into webinars work for them and to
Yeah.
make sure that they're taking advantage of webinars in the right way for their business?
Yeah, no, such a great question. And right now, it's a medium that's exploding online, just with everything that's going on in the world, right? Just kind of the macroeconomics across the world. But realistically, webinars are nothing new. It's not a new medium. It's not a new, use case or anything like that. But it's literally just a technology built on the ability to connect and build relationships with your audience in a one-to-many format, right? It's just you connecting with them. In the past, this has been, events, masterminds, rooms like that, right? A one-to-many environment. And the real power is just the ability to engage your audience, to build trust, to educate people, add value for your leads and your customers, right? It's really the value add is the main piece of it. But ultimately, you want to engage your audience. And every single business out there can use webinars. And now more than ever, the results are showing up. People are home now. They're listening more than ever, right? Over the past month, we've seen literally every single industry you can imagine, every single type of business you can imagine come in. We've seen nonprofits, governments, solopreneurs, content creators, educators, digital businesses, huge corporations. I've seen churches. I've seen people doing dance and their dance routines and their dance businesses. You name it, they're all utilizing this type of use case to run their online events. And I think at the end of the day, the medium of webinars, again, is just a one-to-many online event that generates business results. That's typically what we're talking about when we say the word webinar. And when you look at them a little bit deeper, you understand that webinars themselves have a variety of use cases that can generate your business returns. So whether you're looking to get new leads for your business, or you want to qualify those leads, give them more information about your business, get them ready to close on a sale. Maybe you want to just move them down the pipeline from introducing them to your company to getting them to a salesperson. Maybe you want to convert those prospects to customers utilizing like a sales event or something like that. Maybe you're onboarding new customers into your product offering. Maybe it's a software that you have. Maybe it's a course and you're outlining the webinar of what they're going to get in there. Maybe you're training and activating customers on how to get the most out of your product. Or maybe it's just an education event, or you're continuing their education on some topic. All of these things can be utilized through webinars, and they're all maybe a different content structure throughout that event, but they all utilize that kind of medium of webinars to get you the business result behind the scene.
Yeah, I love that so much. And we've definitely seen what he's talking about when we use a program like Demio to create relationships, like David was saying, with our customer base. And it's such a stronger medium to do it in when you have that real-time interaction. People can see there's a real human behind the content that you're creating. And the conversions we've seen have been so much better when we hop on a webinar rather than just doing a standard blog post to explain a topic or concept. So can you talk through what you've seen work well for your own company or some of the people who utilize Demio for how you can actually create a really compelling webinar? What structures you see if people are using slides versus no slides, or the length of the right webinar that's really leading to stronger conversions and stronger relationships?
Well, I think the key is kind of what you said before is, it's really about having that conversation, that real-time feedback. But when you sit down to do this, I can't realistically sit here and give you like the best answer for every situation, because there's no one size fits all approach here, right? It really comes down to your goal and what you're trying to accomplish with this marketing initiative, right? This is a marketing campaign. So you need to sit down and look at it from that level. Like, what am I trying to achieve here? There's all of these different use cases. So there's all of these different ways to kind of put this together. Like an educational event, might be okay to be a 2-hour long event. You might be bringing on guest speakers. You might have a lot of content. Because it's educational, you might have a lot of slides, or you may be doing screen share and showing some piece of the build. Versus maybe an onboarding webinar might be 15 minutes, right? And it's 15 minutes showing, and it's 15 minutes of Q&A. Lead generation events typically sit around like 30 to 45 minutes with a content structure that's built to walk someone through some part of a process. Sales events, typically are around about an hour 15 is kind of the typical mark we see for those sales events. But there's no way for me to sit here and be like, you have to follow this structure and do this. The best way really that I tell everyone that, and then we've seen as well, is just to test it. Get out there, start an event, put some content together. The key piece of this is just making sure that you're crafting that value-driven content. So the same way you would think about blog content or video content, anything like that, right? People are trading time for education. We're looking at what can I do and talk about that solving a problem? How can I explain a solution? How can I get you to a result quicker or faster, right? Those are things that will help a business to grow, and that's what they want to come listen to. Again, that's a trade-off of time for value. That's what you really have to think about. And when you start doing these, you'll be able to see things like engagement rates, drop-off points, attention spans, and that's really going to help you understand, like, maybe I need to shorten this content. Maybe I need to make this longer. Maybe I didn't do a good job of explaining it. So to your point, you said, real-time communication is really powerful. Yes, because you're getting the feedback in real time, and you can make these adjustments and assessments as you need. One of the major things I see people doing, though, that's the mistake, is they think of it as like a one-time event. I'm just going to run this one event. It's going to be it. This is an evergreen organic process. You need to plan to do it numerous times. It should be something you're doing daily, weekly, monthly. You're growing it, you're learning from it. And then to your point about slides, I mean, just from my own perspective of what has worked for us, what we like doing, the content for slides is really when we're having kind of these like not conversational webinars, so we're like presenting content, we utilize slides for that. I like to have the personal touch point of my webcam on first, and then going into slides, turning off my webcam, coming through the slides, and then having the webcam on again at the end to answer questions in live time for that Q&A. But for the slides, the key for me is I don't want to put like very highly textualized slides. I want it to be like almost bullet points, snippets, and then each slide I'm talking about and explaining it. So it becomes like something to back up what I'm talking about, where visual elements can help there. But realistically, just to make it as like a visual kind of explanation as I go through the content.
Oh man, that's such a wise way of putting it. I especially like when you touched on the fact that people are coming to a webinar oftentimes for free. This is content you're producing for free, but when you think about it in the aspect that they're actually paying you with their time and their attention, it kind of lights a fire on you to make sure that the content in your webinar is truly targeted to provide them value more than anything. So I think that's a really awesome mindset to take when you're actually producing these, and not to be too afraid about the fact that there is no one right way to do it. So you guys, he just gave a million different use cases for how you could use a webinar. So if you're a little afraid to use it to sell right now, perhaps start out using webinars just to do some onboarding, just to speak with your customers about how to get the most out of your product or service, and see how you can branch out from there. So when we do get comfortable kind of doing webinars to raise brand awareness and bring clients in, do you have some tips for how and when to go ahead and offer your services and get people to actually buy your product on the webinar when you pitch them, and how long the pitch could be, or any type of tips you could do for selling on webinars?
Yeah, and we could do a whole video on tips for selling on webinars. There's a lot of really great experts out there that, do sales webinars on a daily basis to grow their business like that. That's their primary mechanism. So mine are going to be more like overarching general ideas that we've seen really help webinars win. And I think the major one is understanding that a webinar is a campaign, and like any campaign, it is like a numerical equation. The number of leads going in is going to be a percentage of those who attend. Percentage of those that attend will be there at the end of your pitch. At the pitch, a percentage of those will buy, yada, yada. So if you understand that kind of numbers, you understand that the big thing is the more people you can get into that registration process, the higher your close rate can be at the end if you have a solid offer, right? So the number one thing that will help you with these is understanding that kind of big idea, the thing that's driving your sales event. For those sales and lead generation events, typically the core of this is solving, explaining, or helping your audience with something. Again, trying to figure out what that exchange of time for value is. So your presentation, email campaigns, your registration page, your headline on that registration page, your advertising, all of this will be language to get them to this event. Are they interested enough to not only register, but show up? Because that is the critical piece, right? If you don't have a strong enough hook, if you're not solving a big enough problem, if it's not interesting enough, then it doesn't matter if you have the best product offering in the world, those numbers won't be there at the end, right? If you have 2 people there, even if you're converting at 100%, it'll be you'll get 2 sales, which is great, but it's like, if you can get that number up, then obviously the whole campaign works better. So realistically, it's just focusing on that. And if you nail this, you'll have plenty of opportunity. But I think most of this is in testing. What is your registration rate? What's your click rate even to that event? Are people interested, and are they registering for it? Once they get on the webinar, though, a big thing that I see that's helpful is making sure that people are engaged through that webinar, right? We like to say engagement marketing is the key part of these webinars. So ask questions throughout, utilize polls, drop handoffs, stop, listen, make sure the audience is still there throughout the presentation, right? A lot of times just talking at an audience gets stale. People don't want to engage. And by the end, you'll have a lot of drop off, or people aren't listening anymore. And then you get into your pitch and you have a disengaged audience, right? The more your audience is engaged, the longer they'll watch, the more they'll trust you, which is what you're trying to do, build trust and those relationships. And then your conversion rate will go with that. Another good tip is just making sure that you take the time to explain your offer correctly, right? Like, be clear on this offer. It's easy to overcomplicate these things. It's easy also, like if it's your first time doing it, to feel like you have to rush through it, like you're being salesy. But really take the time to articulate the value that your product's doing, the problem that it's trying to solve, the relationship of that value to maybe time or money or what they'll get when they actually get your product. And then another big takeaway or kind of tip there is really focusing on the presentation itself. And we could just do an entire video on like the content layout, right, of a webinar. But the key is really in the approach of teaching and selling, not teaching and then having like this weird break and then selling a product secondary to it, right? So you want your content to, really prepare the audience for that pitch the whole time. It's explaining a problem. It's explaining possible solutions that you can do down the road. Maybe the story behind finding those solutions, how you found them, what it will do and what it's done for you, what it's done for other customers, their success stories. And then when you transition to that kind of pitch at the end, to that offer, it's no longer this kind of like awkward transition. It's, I have the solution that you're looking for. This is everything that we've been talking about. This is everything you've learned, but what if you could do it, with this product, save time, save money, save energy, or whatever your product is solving for them, right? The realistic goal is that you want to teach your audience on what they want to buy, not just forcing a product on them. And this will help you not be salesy. This will help you like focus on that value, that content, and that exchange. And then you're not feeling that kind of weird like rush at the end, because you're effectively got them in the mindset of understanding what their problem is and then how to solve them. So you're actually giving them something very valuable that they need.
Oh man, yeah. I love this idea of everything in a webinar should be a conversation, keeping people engaged, as well as just remembering when you're selling, you're just giving someone the opportunity to solve this pain point that you presented your product or service to be perfect for. So you should feel great about doing it for them. If you've done the work ahead of time, like David was saying, of targeting the right people with the language you're using on your registration page and the audiences that you're building out. So I think that does make it a lot easier for people to feel comfortable selling there. I love that so much. So we've talked a little bit about the registration process and about the actual webinar, and I'd love to end this discussion a little bit with some tips on what to do after the webinar, because I feel like there's a lot of opportunity that if you don't follow up after a webinar, that can be missed for reaching your target audience. So what do you find works really well for the after webinar kind of sequence of what you do?
Yeah, no, you have to definitely think about it as conversations, as you said, like these are real people listening to your business, and you have so much opportunity to continue that. Like, you wouldn't just have a conversation with a prospect in your store and then just, never follow up with them again, right? Like, we have so much opportunity here. So for those that don't attend, you'll have another amazing opportunity to put them maybe on an on-demand event, something that's more fitting for their schedule. Or maybe you want to just do another encore presentation, and you can invite all those people to come to another live event. If they don't watch that, maybe you want to try a video recap, like maybe a replay, or I've done things where we've carved down that replay into a short 15-minute like dissection of that video, or maybe it's a blog post or some other medium, right? Like, your goal is still to get them to this content. Maybe they just don't have the time or energy to do that now. But realistically, all you're trying to do is get those prospects who don't know, like, or trust you just deeper into the funnel. And so you're actively thinking, okay, this is someone that has not seen my presentation, so they don't know enough about me yet. So let's build a relationship with them.
Yeah.
Those that do attend typically fall into two buckets: those who purchased, those who didn't. If they didn't purchase but they attended, they probably saw maybe some part of your presentation. They know about you. So we want to get them the replay as quickly as possible, get them some social proof on that, why they need to watch it. And then if they haven't bought yet, you can utilize your marketing channels to help deconstruct the objections that stand in front of them from purchasing. That's stuff like lack of need, lack of results, lack of urgency. Those things can be done through just marketing campaigns, maybe a timer on what the offering is, just more explanation on why people need it. But utilize your maybe email channels or social media, right, to kind of break these different barriers down. Customer stories work really great here as well.
Oh, I love that. Just continuing the conversation in a really genuine way. Well, David, this has been amazing. And I feel really motivated myself to go out and improve some of our webinars here at Meet Edgar. So we thank you so much for your time. And you guys, if you are looking to get started on webinars here at Meet Edgar, we use Demio all the time, and it is an amazing software. So definitely feel free to go check them out. Cool. So we'll see you next time. Thanks so much for your time, David.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.